Next thing I know, 6 a.m. in the morning. Pound, pound, pound. What the?
Welcome back to the Look Around podcast.
Woo!
Man, maybe
Here we go, baby.
the longest break in podcast history. We know we had you guys on your toes.
That's
just
right.
Every day refreshing your podcast feed.
3 years. 3 years.
3 years, man. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to the podcast. 3 years ago, John and I guess we should introduce ourselves first. My name's Ryan Slazner, my good friend John Griffith.
That's right.
And 3 years
Good to be
ago,
here.
we had a podcast called the Look Around Podcast, where
Yeah.
we went around the lovely city of Topeka and interviewed strangers.
Audio only.
Audio only.
Audio only.
And we interviewed strangers in coffee shops.
That's right.
But if
And
you
in
remember,
Walmart.
in Walmart,
Yep.
if you remember in 2020, something else happened.
There was TikTok came
TikTok was popular.
Yeah.
This thing called COVID, during which there was no such thing as coffee shops or people interacting with each other.
That's right. Yeah.
So-
R.I.P. to our favorite coffee shop at the time. They
Seriously.
completely went out of business.
Come back.
All of
PTs.
most of these interviews that we did back then were in a coffee shop that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Thanks, COVID.
So yeah, there was no interviewing strangers. There was no hanging out in coffee shops. There was none of that. And so we decided to take a break. And now 3 years later, we feel like it's time for that break to come back. You know,
Honestly, I feel like we forgot the podcast even existed. And then 6 months ago, we're like, dude, we should bring it back.
So if you were an original listener, this is going to be a little bit different. We'll explain more about that later, what it's going to look like. Same heart, different method.
Yeah.
But we wanted to give you a quick update on just what's different in our lives since 3 years ago when this podcast happened. So I'll just rattle off some of the highlights for me. I got a new job. I left that job. I had a baby. I had another baby.
You had it. Wow.
Yeah,
It's a miracle. The miracle of birth.
My wife pushed two children out of her body at separate times, 2 years apart. Since the last episode, I've started a business. It's just nothing about my life other than who I was married to and who some of my closest friends were is the same as it was 3 years ago. So, John, what about you? What's happened in your life?
Oh, man. So many things. We had another child. We had one. Now we have two. We have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. Let's see. Started a church, community church. For those who don't know, I'm a pastor here at Community Church here right next to Washburn. And that's been insane and super fun. Man, I feel like that's been its own roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
We moved. We were in the College Hill neighborhood. Now we're in another part of town not too far. Dude, we love Topeka. We love
Absolutely.
being here. I feel like in the last 3 years, we've seen Topeka just slowly get better and better.
Mm-hmm.
More businesses have opened. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm optimistic for the future
Absolutely.
here in Topeka.
Absolutely. And in addition to I think the quality of businesses that have been opening, we've both just met some really high quality people over the last few years that have added a lot of value to our lives and to the city of Topeka as a whole. So, and that's kind of what we're doing now with the Look Around 2.0, I
That's
guess,
right.
if you want to call it.
2.0.
Do you want to give a little bit of the vision behind what we're doing with our
so
podcast?
I'm really excited. So before we were going to coffee shops, we were interviewing we were literally walking up to strangers. So some of you are introverts. We were your worst nightmare. We were your absolute
digging your
worst
headphones in even deeper.
nightmare.
into your
Yeah.
ears.
I mean, we had like a little wired mic that would go into our iPhone. And we would like walk up to strangers. I mean, you could just see it in slow motion for like, I feel like this would be a hilarious like horror movie trailer for introverts.
Yep.
You know, they're just minding their own business. And we're like, hey, we're doing a podcast where we interview strangers. Can we talk to you? And you'd actually be surprised how many people told us yes.
Absolutely.
We had, at least half or more probably told us.
I would say so.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had a bunch of amazing audio-only recordings, some of which we have never actually published, which we will surprise you in a bit with some of those. But basically, in our revamped version of this podcast, we are going to we're switching it up a little bit. We are highlighting some of the people and places in the city of Topeka that make our city so great. So we are sitting down more in long form, unedited interviews with business owners, city leaders. As of this recording, I think the first episode will release next week. As of this recording, we've already recorded five or six long form interviews with some of your favorite businesses owners that we're very excited for you to see. So I'm excited. We have even more already scheduled. So I'm excited for that. And then we are tinkering with what it could look like to sprinkle in every now and then kind of what we used to do. Interviews with total strangers, like out at Walmart, at the
more
skate
short
park,
form, kind of just
short
answer
form,
this one question.
Exactly. Yeah, asking 50 people, what's your favorite restaurant in Topeka or whatever. So maybe we'll be out at Evergy Plaza, who knows. So
so really the vision is, we have, as Jon said, we have a love for Topeka. We want to see Topeka become all that it can possibly be. And so we're taking a chance to look around our city and see who are
name drop.
Yeah, gotta brand it, man. And seeing who are some of the people that think and feel and believe the same way about the city of Topeka. And
sorry.
Go for it.
I was just gonna jump in and say, make sure to follow us on Instagram, The Look Around Podcast. I know we're just keeping it short for you, but at The Look Around Podcast on Instagram, we'll be posting promos and reels and different things. And then we're dropping this on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. So make sure to whichever platform you're into, follow us, subscribe, whatever the thing is on that platform. Make sure you follow us at The Look Around Podcast. So
yeah, and if you, in addition to that, if you've got people in the city of Topeka that we should interview and have on our podcast, shoot those names our way for sure, and then tell us what you want us to ask them.
Yeah, if they're boring, don't send us.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, only interesting people.
So
I'm excited though. We have some pretty stellar names that we've recorded and people already on the schedule.
Yes.
People honestly, we were surprised. How did we connect to this person?
I mean, there's some people I'm like, if I was that person, I would not talk to me. So I'm glad that they are doing it.
Yeah, we're not going to release this until after they agree to do an interview with us.
Yeah. So, we're really excited to invite you into an opportunity to see behind the scenes of some of your favorite businesses, see some of the people who are making Topeka go every day. It's going to be a really exciting journey. So we're excited you're here with us. But before we get to some of that new content, like Jon said, coming out next week, we want to talk about some of our old favorite clips. So
yes, some of these have been released, but don't worry. If you have never heard this podcast before, all our old episodes don't exist on the internet anymore.
Exactly.
So they're not there. But if you have followed us before, if you watched our podcast or listened to it way back in the day, we have some new content. Half of these are interviews that have never been released.
Yep.
And some of these are short form. We interviewed just a bunch of random people at Walmart.
Before we got kindly asked to leave.
Before we got kindly escorted out. We didn't realize you had to get permission first. And then some of these are... some of these long form interviews, we pulled some highlights, and there's one at the very end that has never been released, and it is probably the shining moment.
Yes.
The shining moment. I mean, I'm giddy with joy right now just thinking about it. Has never been released.
The golden chalice of the Look Around podcast.
It is the peak of the original Look Around podcast, and it was never released. So stay tuned.
And a special shout out to both of our wives who would not let us restart this podcast unless we aired this old clip.
That
so
specific clip,
shout out to them. All right, so Jon, you want to cue up some of that?
All right, yeah. So
stuff?
we're gonna play some of these, and we're just gonna live react. Part of what we're doing is we want to make this more like raw and uncut. So we're just gonna play some of these live react and see what happens. So some of these are from Walmart. We went into Walmart and interviewed random strangers, and we asked them to answer this question. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What is some advice you would give to your 17-year-old self?
And the advice I would give to myself was, first of all, quit smoking, you dumbass.
Fair thought.
18 years.
Fair
and
thought.
then it's not really that important right now. Let it go. You'll figure it out later.
That is awesome. Thank you so. Dude, who has any clue what he was talking about there in the second part?
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
I hope he figured it out. You know?
Also, I just realized I forgot to clip people's names out of the second and third one. So
That's fine.
I'm just going to jump up a little bit.
We'll beep it out in post
All right.
for authenticity.
Also, I love that dude's like, stop smoking, dumbass. All right.
And the advice I would give my 17-year-old self is don't go into debt. Save for things you want.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. That is just great advice.
And we are officially sponsored by the Dave Ramsey Show here at the Look Around Podcast.
Yeah.
After that,
Yeah.
simple and beautiful financial advice.
Where if you ever get a credit card, you will immediately go to hell.
Exactly.
So,
Guess I would tell myself to get into nursing sooner and stop waiting. Just, if you know what you want to do, just go ahead and do it.
all right.
Don't waste time.
I can
That's awesome.
totally
All right,
relate to
thank
that.
you. Great advice. Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that one.
I'm going to turn it up a little bit.
Slow down.
Oh, shoot. It's a little quiet. Here we go.
Run that
follow
back.
these footsteps I have.
Ooh,
Slow down.
slow down.
No regrets. Don't do anything you're going to regret.
I like that. I mean, we hear all the time people say no regrets or no ragrets if you're a fan of We're the Millers. But the way he took it an extra step further, it's not just don't regret anything. It's don't do anything you're going to regret. That makes way more sense.
I prefer the other one. Just like, who cares how stupid it is? Just don't regret it.
And that's our pastor, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Here we go.
Make friends.
Mm,
Lots of friends.
There we go.
lots of friends.
There you go. That's great
Pay
advice.
more attention in class.
Mm.
There you go. If you're in school, pay attention. Pay attention.
Oh, I don't know. I guess say just be good and stay out of trouble.
There you go.
She was a little far removed from 17, so we'll give her a little grace on that one.
Was she the one who couldn't hear us at first? Oh, bless her heart.
Yes.
Bless her heart. Oh, that's awesome.
Invest in baby supplies.
Smart.
Okay. This one. I love babies. I have 2 kids, but it felt like this woman's pushing her stroller out of Walmart.
This anonymous
person pushing her cart and a baby out of Walmart with a bunch of diapers, and she says, invest in baby supplies.
And well, we asked her what she would get, what she would say at 17.
Yes.
At 17, invest in baby supplies to a 17-year-old.
Right, which you could maybe redirect that conversation to talk about abstinence. You could talk about any number of things. I'm sure she loves her kids. I'm sure she's happy she has them.
Well, yeah, that's
But,
really the thing is she's like, hey, I wouldn't give my kid, I wouldn't go back in time and not have this kid. That's probably what.
Right, just buy a lot of diapers at 17 with all your spare money.
I just imagine, you roll this back, what advice did you give to your 14-year-old self? Just buy a lot of baby supplies. It's just inevitable. You're going to need it.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
man. That's good stuff.
She also,
right there.
she had some great advice for Patrick Mahomes, which was basically along the same lines, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she was very knowledgeable about sports. It was great.
We had asked people at Walmart their predictions for the Super Bowl and if they had any advice for Patrick Mahomes. And she said, buy a lot of baby supplies, too. I
She
think
did.
she said the same thing.
Or it was something along the lines of make sure your wife has enough diapers before the game.
Yeah.
that's what it was, so.
All right, one more Walmart one.
Stay in school. Go to college.
There you go. That's a great one.
Oh, man. Simple, profound.
And it was sounds iconic too, just the way she said it.
Yes. Stay in
Wow,
school.
That was amazing. In one of those, we were kindly escorted out of Walmart immediately after one of those, and then we came back. We got permission. We got smart, and we finally called Walmart.
And they still tried to escort us out.
That is true. They still tried to escort us out, but I had the phone number of the guy who gave us permission, and so I called him up, and I was like, I was very calm because I knew I know we have permission to be here, and so I was like what? Let's tell a story for a second. So there's
6 managers.
The
manager of
all
every
the managers
department.
currently on shift at Walmart all came. You could tell they were feeling aggressive.
Oh, they're like, we're going to get them.
Yeah, they had probably had a rough day, and they were ready to take out some aggression on us. We're just we're out right outside the end. We're off to the side of the entrance. We're not blocking
Exactly
away.
where they told us to be.
Exactly where they told us to be. We're interviewing people. We're not harassing anyone or anything like that. And they come out and they're like, I forget how they said. They're like, do you have permission to be here? And we're like, actually, yeah. And they're like, well, we don't know that. You need to prove it or get out of here. And we're like, you're like oddly angry, but okay. Like, and so
Well, it turned out, I guess, the manager who had given permission to corporate for us to be there, he wasn't there that day and was kind enough to not tell anyone else that we were coming.
Exactly.
Which is a great business strategy.
So I had the number of like the national corporate guy who gave us permission and was
Media
like,
relations
yeah,
department
media
or
relations
whatever.
guy. Shout out to that guy. Love that guy. Was amazing. I was like, hey, well, I have this national guy's number. Like, I can call him. And they're like, yeah, you're going to have to do that. And like, they were like really like oddly angry. And I want to be like, is everything okay at home? Like, you know, you just forgive your dad. Everything will be a little easier, you know, like this doesn't have to be this hard.
Oh, no.
So I called the guy. Praise the Lord. He
Shout out to that guy. Like 2:00 on a Friday afternoon. Like, could have been gone living for the weekend.
Exactly.
Already. There
like,
he is.
I feel like the odds that he normally, I don't know about him specifically, that any person would answer was much lower. He answered the phone. And it was amazing. And immediately I just handed the phone to, I was like, which manager wants to talk to him? And so I know, actually, we didn't know they were managers. So I was like, hey, which one of you 6 are managers? They all raised their hands. And I was like, all right, well, which one wants to talk to this guy? And anyway, they worked it out and it was great. But
they walked away with their tails tucked.
Yeah. So even when you
legs.
get permission, it's still very difficult, you know, for any of you that might want to do that. So anyway, that was our Walmart interviews. Now we want to show you, we have 2 separate interviews. We want to just pull a few highlights from. And the first one, do you want to tell them about the first one?
Yeah, is this Josh?
Yeah.
Josh and Rebecca.
Yeah.
All right, so these are our friends we met at World Cup.
Well, we didn't know them beforehand. They became our friends.
Yeah, they became our friends. And by friends, I mean we have not seen them since this day. But
such close friends.
yeah, not even on the Christmas card list. We should fix that. But so we're just walking into World Cup with the goal of meeting some strangers and figuring out about their life. And we sit down, and it turns out they're getting married in a month. Really cool story. And found out they met in a very cliche and uncommon kind of way. So let's roll that first clip. Where did you guys actually meet in Manhattan?
It was at the Manhattan Mall.
Yeah.
You guys met at the mall?
Yeah, kind of a cliche thing. But
You guys met at the mall?
You met at the mall.
You guys, if you've never done interviews, I promise you it is a skill to make every single answer to a question sound interesting, and that's, I think, the skill that Jon was using in that particular moment.
Oh yeah. Luckily, I mean, these are very interesting people, so it didn't take a lot. But
so then fast forward, we figure out their wedding's in a month, and their wedding party's all coming together, and this and that, and we find out there's something a little unique about one of Josh's groomsmen.
What was your favorite game on the 360?
Black Ops 2 was probably
he
the
was
best,
talking
just
about
because
He's a big time
I was
gamer.
decent at the game, and that's where I used to meet I had a lot of friends back then. And there's one that I know of for the past 5 years already, and he's going to be in the wedding next year.
That's so cool.
What, that you met online?
Yep.
Well, okay, well.
Whoa. So yeah, he met him online, and the story went on. He ended up, I'm pretty sure he was his best man.
yeah, he was. He ended up being his best man.
His best man in the wedding, a guy he had met online playing Black Ops 2.
Yeah. So I was blown away because I only play video games with people I know. But he had, and I think this is much more common than I thought. I guess I'm sheltered here. And he had made friends, people he'd never met before in person. I'm sure many of them he's never met in person ever.
Right.
But he met them online, like in the lobby waiting to play. They just start talking. And then he talks about how he gets to know this guy. They start playing together multiple times. And then he just starts opening up to this guy, like in the lobby before the round starts,
right.
And he just starts sharing things with him he's never shared
And
with
they're
anyone.
both sharing back and forth.
It blew my mind. I was like, wow, it's kind of cool, honestly.
I don't even
like,
talk to my wife like that. And so now it's a month before the wedding, and the best man's flying out, and we learned one more interesting little tidbit.
Here we go.
Have you guys met before?
You've never met face to face, and now this guy's gonna be in your wedding?
Yeah.
That's so
I just
legit.
feel like the power of internet, honestly. I mean, there's some pitfalls, but there's a lot of cool things that come out of it too.
That is
Obviously,
so
you wanna be careful
awesome.
with
Yeah.
who you're talking
Oh,
to,
that's
but-
so awesome. Man.
Do you have any fear that like a completely different person's gonna show up?
Like you getting catfished or something?
I love like imagining what that would have been like. He shows up. Okay, can we just like restate what just happened? Like, he's never met his best man in person ever.
Yep.
And the first time he was gonna meet him was at the wedding.
Yep.
At the wedding.
I mean, at that point, can you even be sure it's your best man? It's just your best person. You have no idea if this guy's really a guy.
Oh my gosh, but that would be so funny. He gets catfished and it's some random.
This is like a 60-year-old man.
Or it's like,
So I
it's
just,
like some 60-year-old like Asian lady who's been using a voice changer or something like that.
I just want to know, like, at this wedding, you know, the traditional wedding, the bride lifts her veil to be revealed. Like, did the best man have a veil that got revealed?
It's like Love is Blind.
Right?
It's like Love is Blind on Netflix. Yeah.
Friendship is blind. It's
Yeah,
something
best
beautiful
man
about
is
it.
blind.
Maybe he was.
Best
Probably
man.
wouldn't be very good at Black Ops 2 if he was blind. But
All right, we have one more, and this is our crown and jewel.
this is it. Okay, so these are our good friends we met here at lovely Blackbird Coffee Shop in Topeka, Kansas.
Corey and Vern.
Corey and Vern.
Which I think we're only going to hear from Corey in this segment.
Correct.
It's a little bit longer. It's 2 minutes, but the end is our crowning achievement as a podcast.
Yeah, so stick with us. We'll
I
be
hope
kind
I'm
of
not overhyping this.
We'll
I
be
don't know. Maybe
kind
I am.
of commenting along, but I hope that you can get just some of the shock that we were able to get. So up to this point in the interview, Corey's told us a lot about her life.
Or like the art she makes. She'll put like electric shock on pieces of wood or something.
Yes.
And it makes designs. It like burns designs into the wood.
Yes.
So we talked about that for a long
so
time.
That in and of itself was very interesting. I'd never met anybody who did that.
Yeah, I want to say it was like a 30-minute interview right outside Blackbird at the tables. They were smoking outside. We went up and said hey and talked to them. They were probably middle-aged, 50-ish.
Probably, yeah.
And they're just good friends. And we talked for most of the interview just about random stuff. And then right as we're like trying to wrap this interview up, like it's almost over and we're like, all right, we got to go. She drops this bomb on us.
Yes. Here you go.
Well, because I've already been interviewed by the Secret Service. Got that off my bucket list.
What? You were interviewed by the Secret Service?
Okay, wait. Well, really quick. At the beginning, you can kind of hear you were
I was
trying to
literally
change the
about to
subject to
end.
wrap up the interview.
Yep.
You're like, okay, well, let's. And she's like, hold up, I've been interviewed by the Secret Service.
Oh yeah, when the
Yeah, that's
president was
incredible.
here.
Dang. We should have asked you about that 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Dang.
share the interesting things first.
Starting every interview from now on. Have you ever been interviewed by the Secret
Yeah.
Service?
I have yet to do that, but
Dang.
we'll have to do it.
Yeah.
Seems like I remember some event that had something to do with that, but I forget what it was about now.
Yeah, I posted something stupid.
So he says basically there's some big event in the city. She posted something stupid about this event.
Online.
Okay, yes. So they had to like make sure you weren't a threat or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
But
just
I
like
got it off my
ranting or
bucket
something?
list. I was ranting, to a point, a little bit. I didn't actually know that he was going to be in town on that day.
Okay, so we're like, she's like talking around, like, this is 2020. This is early, but right before the pandemic, like a few weeks before the pandemic.
This is like, March 12th, 2020.
Yeah, this is like 2 weeks. Like we were on the verge of getting, this podcast was about to end and we didn't know it. And, you know, we all know who had been president.
Yeah, this is not a political podcast.
Yeah.
We're not going to make any comments about that. This is
Yeah,
just-
and she's kind of talking around, and so we were like putting it together. She's like Secret Service, okay, 2020. I think at the time it was like 2015, right before 2016 election or something like that. Right.
I think so.
And so she was talking about Trump. Trump had come to Topeka,
Had a big event.
and had a big
rally.
event, and she posted something online about it.
Oh, Rump.
Yeah. So
this was
I
recently.
had actually
This was like a year and a half ago,
yeah, I just came off of the
So it was
watch
like
list
2018.
in October of last year.
Came off the watch list.
That's hilarious.
When he came out here to talk,
Yeah.
I had posted about I don't know, a week beforehand if anybody had an unregistered firearm I could borrow.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't even going to be in town. I was going to, in my defense, I was going to.
In my defense. I mean, that's not like a light quippy joke, you know, like, hey, does anyone have an assault rifle I can borrow? Like,
I wonder if her advice to her 17-year-old self would have been to not post that on Facebook.
like, hey, does anyone have an illegal weapon with the the
serial
serial number's been
scratched
scratched off on it? Like,
Oh, man.
A barbecue at a friend's house
This is your
down in
alibi.
Silver Lake. I wasn't not even close to here.
15 minutes.
But someone else mentioned
pretty close.
the idiot's name. And the next thing I know, I've got them pounding on my door in the afternoon. I wasn't home. I was at work. My neighbors told me about
Him
it.
is the
Someone in
Secret
a big
Service,
black
pounding on her door.
SUV was sitting outside waiting for me. Oh, okay. I didn't think twice about it again. Next thing I know, 6 a.m. in the morning. Pound, pound, pound. What the? I'm in the shower. Just a minute. Got dressed, opened up the door. Ma'am, we need to have a word.
And they showed you their badge.
Yep.
Yep.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's wild. I remember when I was
And that's the end. They're like, pound, pound, pound. What the? Oh my gosh.
man.
And that how we were like trying to wrap this interview up. She drops that bomb on us. We were like, we just struck gold. Like,
I remember we like ran home. I think we were playing cards with our wives that night.
oh man.
We were just like, you guys gotta listen to this. And so 3 years later, they finally got us to release it onto the internet. So
There you go. You are welcome. You owe us. If you heard this, you owe us. You should go subscribe to our Patreon now.
Yes.
That we don't have yet.
Exactly. We'll get her set up. Don't you worry. So that is just a short glimpse into what you can find when you look around the city of Topeka, Kansas. I think there's a whole wide, diverse group of people here. Very entertaining. Very, different motivations for how and why they do things. But man, it's a great city, and I'm excited to live here and to be a part of what's happening here. So
yeah, and honestly, we showed some of the more bizarre like things that came up. But honestly, we had a really great time talking for cumulatively hours with random people we'd never met. And
learned
we had
about minimalism.
conversation.
Learned about being a pilot in the Air Force. Just like all kinds of random things.
And it was super fun. So it wasn't like us, mocking strangers, like we're
It's not the
portraying
laugh
to you now.
around
It wasn't like this.
podcast.
Like we were like actually like made meaningful connections with people we never met before, and it was super fun.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of our heart for this, is that we just want to look around our city. We love our city.
Yep.
A lot of people in Topeka, as you'll find out, some of the owners that we've already interviewed have talked about how difficult it is to build momentum with a city where a decent portion of the city has a lot of negativity about what the city could be like because of what Topeka was like 20 years ago. And so part of our hope for this podcast is that we can be one small part of many people who are working hard to build momentum, to increase people's expectation for what Topeka really could become. That it really could be a fun place to live, a great place to raise a family, with fun things to do, nightlife, downtown, multiple downtowns. We got Noto, we got downtown, different places. That all the good restaurants aren't just on Wanamaker.
Just the chains.
Yeah,
just the chains.
So that's kind of the heart behind this, the vision behind this.
Did you ever watch the movie Bird Box?
No, I never saw it. I saw it advertised all the time.
Okay, so it's the main premise of the movie is you got to keep your eyes closed, because if you look at these things, you can never look away, and it just like takes over your life.
It was kind of like a variation of the other movie where they couldn't talk, right?
Right. It's similar. It's just another sensory deprivation film, but the whole premise is you can't look at it, right? You can't look at it. And I feel like there's something about that in Topeka. Like there's this promise, there's this like potential, but you can't look at it.
Yeah.
And so if we could get even just one person to look at it
Yeah.
And to see it and to where it kind of just changes the way they think, the way they live, the way they operate within the city, then we've done our job here, I think.
So you're saying proverbially we could grab those people by the collar and say, look around.
Oh.
We're both
Amen,
dads,
brother.
and we're working on our dad jokes catalog. So, all right. Do we want to give them a little sneak preview of what's next?
Yeah. So our first episode, I guess this is our first episode. Our first interview, our first long-form interview is going to be with the owner of a place that I have basically just donated my wallet to at this point.
Same.
And the people that keep me running way too often in the week. And that would be our good friend David Vincent, the owner, not the founder, but the owner of Circle Coffee here in Topeka, Kansas. So I'm excited for that one. I had a lot of fun recording it. So
Yeah. We had a blast. So we won't ruin any more of that. But you can find us. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Look Around Podcast. They can email us questions too, right?
Yes, thelookaroundpodcast@gmail.com. You can email to us or just shoot us in our DMs on Instagram. And again, let us know if you know people who are really invested in Topeka, and we would love to connect with them and get them to be a part of the Look Around Army as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that we hope to start doing is getting listener questions when we know ahead of time, hey, we're about to interview this person with this business or whatever role they have in the city or whatever. What questions would you guys like for us to ask them? And then we'll walk into an interview saying, hey, here's some things people want to know. So it should be really exciting. So make sure you follow us and keep tagging along. It's been a great time.
Tag along and don't forget to look around.
There you go. All right, that's the end of episode 1. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Look Around podcast.
Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow us on Instagram at the Look Around podcast, where followers can submit questions for future interviews.
If you'd like to connect with us further, you can send us an email at thelookaroundpodcast@gmail.com.